Okay, Robert and Kim, here's your first question. What do you do for personal development apart from business personal development? And what do you recommend new entrepreneurs to do for personal development?
I would say the number one reason to be an entrepreneur is not about money. The number one reason to be an entrepreneur is personal development. To develop yourself to be, as the Army says, to be all you can be, which is true.
Well, yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur, every day we're facing the unknown. We're facing problems that come up. We're facing new challenges that come up, and it's always like right in our face. And so in order to solve those problems, we've got to dig deeper. We've got to be stronger. We've got to get better all the time. So personal development, I think entrepreneurship is the fast track to personal development.
And if you're not developing personally, you're not going to make it as an entrepreneur. Let me put it to you in dollar and cents. There's a lot of people who can't make $1,000, and the reason they can't make $1,000 is because mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, they're not capable of making $1,000, whatever the case is. So Kim and I today are in the multi-millions of dollars in making money, but we wouldn't have gotten there because one time we were having trouble at $1,000. So every time we had a problem, we had to get bigger than the problem. For many people out there with $1,000 problem, they're not going to solve the problem until they personally develop themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically to be bigger than $1,000 problem.
Right, and I would say, we've been doing personal development forever.
Yes.
I mean, I remember my very first book when I was 18 years old. I was doing Silva Mind Control, and I was reading Psycho-Cybernetics by Wayne Dyer when I was in college. So we've always been doing that, studying. When we have when we have an upset between us, we have a rule that if the upset lasts more than 45 minutes, we go seek counseling. We
Professional
have
help.
professional people that work with us individually, because a lot of times when there's an issue that comes up, we can't solve it. It's something else that's going on with us personally. And so we want to overcome those blocks, whatever is holding us back, whatever those blocks are emotionally, physically, mentally, we want to move on from those. So that's where our strength comes from.
And also I see a lot of times couples, they have upset after upset after upset, and it just builds up in the relationship.
The resentment builds.
Resentment, anger.
They become their own psychoanalysts. That's the worst thing.
And well, it's your fault. It's your
Yeah.
fault. And you spend too much money. You don't make enough money. I mean, why would you do that? So Kim and I, as Kim says, we have a professional person that if I'm upset with Kim or she's upset with me for more than 45 minutes, speed dial session we call. Because personal, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical development is more important than money.
Okay, Robert and Kim, are there any particular courses you can recommend that you have taken that you would recommend for new entrepreneurs to take?
Kim read a book a while ago. It was called Mindset or something.
Yeah, it's a book called Mindset. It was written by an author, Carol Dweck. And what she talked about is basically there's two primary mindsets, and we tend to have one primary of the two. One is the fixed mindset. So a person with a fixed mindset basically says, I was born with this much intelligence, I'm going to stay with this much intelligence, I know as much as I know, and that's it. But I'm smart. And the fixed mindset has a hard time learning. They have a hard time growing because they already think they know all the answers.
There's something else a fixed mindset does. They want to make sure that you don't grow, because they want to make sure that you don't get past them.
Right.
So
right.
they have to always pretend to be smarter, better, richer, more in control of their life than you. But the fixed mindset actually screws themselves because they cannot grow.
Right, and you'll recognize a fixed mindset. So let's say you're having a conversation. I'm talking to somebody. I said, "Oh, I just read this new book." "Oh, yeah, I know all about that." "Okay." "Oh, I'm studying this new marketing concept." "Oh, I've already done that."
How about the guy we talked to yesterday?
Yeah, he said, "I like your advice, but I think I already know the answers." I'm like, "Why are you asking?" So the fixed mindset, really, they don't take on new challenges. But the other mindset is called the growth mindset, and that's what we're all about, and that's what you need to be an entrepreneur. So a growth mindset, they always think they can get better. They always think they can grow. They love new challenges. They love new ideas and problem
concepts.
solving. And I'll give you one quick example. There was a study that was done, and it was with kids, and these kids were given a puzzle. And so the puzzle, you had so much time to do the puzzle. So they did the puzzle. Then they had a second option. You can either do the same puzzle again, or you can do a new, harder puzzle. Well, immediately you saw the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset, because the fixed mindset goes, oh, I want to be right, I want to get the right answer, so I'm going to do the same puzzle again. The growth mindset goes, why in the world would you do the same puzzle again? Give me the harder one. I want to learn, I want to grow. So that's a very quick example of the difference. And as an entrepreneur, you really have got to have that growth mindset.
And the other part is that in the world everywhere, there's 4 types of mindsets. One mindset is I must win. Another mindset is I must be right. Another mindset is I must be liked. And the other mindset is I must be comfortable. So the people who must be liked and the people who must be comfortable will probably never make it as entrepreneurs, simply because, we hear it all the time. Oh, I don't really want to be rich. I just want to be comfortable. I want to be with all my friends, have them like me. Well, they should not be entrepreneurs, they should be employees. Okay? What about I must win, right?
I think we're both I must win. We're pretty competitive. The I must be rights, they're somewhat too of a fixed mindset, because they've got to be right. Now,
I don't care if I'm right as long as I win.
Yeah.
I don't break the law, but I want to win.
So going back to what we might recommend for personal growth, the number one is we're always learning, we're always studying. We do book studies together. We read personal development books. We're always looking for ways to improve ourselves. And now we have just recently, Robert was introduced to a new book, and we both read it. And
2
now,
new books.
Yeah, so
You've only read one.
I'm reading the other one.
I must win. I must be right.
You must be right.
But the reason I read and study because I like to win. Anything gives me a chance to win.
An advantage, an edge.
I don't have much. I have a huge ego, but I have a worse ego if I'm not winning. And a lot of people have huge egos, but they can't admit, well, I have some flaws and I need to learn something new, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the 2 books, I'll tell you how I came across these 2 books is, for the last year and a half or so, I'm going, what else is there for me to do? I have everything I want. And then I go into depression. It's really surprising. I said, I have the perfect wife, great marriage, we have plenty of money, we love our work, we have great friends, great advisors, we love what we do. I have 2 Ferraris, I have all the cars I want, everything we want, we have. And then I went, boom. And I was depressed I don't know, depression, but I was like, what is there to life now? Because I don't want anything more.
Except the next challenge.
And next challenge. And then in 1 week, I was once in Lake Tahoe, and this guy, Hal Elrod, gave me his book. It's called Miracle Morning. And immediately my mind went, oh, what a bunch of bullshit this is, fixed mindset. And then I flew to Georgetown University. Another friend of mine handed me this book called The Happiness Advantage. So I get 2 books at the same time. It was like God saying, hey, read these books, boy. So it took me a while, but I read Miracle Morning, and then as I'm reading Miracle Morning, I'm reading The Happiness Advantage. And you're reading Eckhart Tolle, right?
The book I've been studying for quite a few months is Eckhart Tolle wrote The Power of Now, and his other book is called A New Earth. So I've been reading A New Earth slowly because I really want to integrate it. I want to practice it. So I've been reading that book, and then Robert introduced me to these 2 books. So
every morning we're doing Miracle Morning.
And what Miracle Morning is, it's this gentleman, Hal Elrod. He came up with what he felt were the best 6 personal development practices. So they are meditation, affirmations, visualization, little bit of reading, journaling, and exercise. A little bit of exercise.
But this is the key. As soon as you get up, you do your Miracle Morning before you start work. And where I was running into the ground was I would get up and go to work, but I wouldn't do anything for myself. So for the last 60 days, I've been doing, he calls it savers, silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing or journaling. So now it's a habit. Every morning I look forward, I get up, whether it takes me, sometimes it takes me 10 minutes, sometimes it takes me half an hour to an hour. But I do it every morning before I go to work, and it's changed my life.
And for me, the hard part is you have to get up earlier. That's always been my struggle. But really, if you read the book, this is what he talks about the whole time, is you need to get that morning side set aside. So for me, as I was starting to do this, I started noticing, I started kind of going later in the day and later in the day, and the effects actually were not as great. But when I do it in the morning, every morning, and I've been doing it now for 3 weeks, magic happens. It really does. It's amazing what happens from this process. So that's one thing new that we've discovered, and it's actually old practices that we've done over many, many years, but now doing it every single day together is very powerful.
And I would say the 2 books are probably less than $40, and you can change your life. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're entering the world of the battlefield from my point of view, because you don't have a steady paycheck and all that. So that's why I recommend Miracle Morning and Happiness Advantage as 2 basic books, so you keep a great mindset as you're going into the future. It's what you do in the morning before you go to work will determine the rest of your life. It's like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth before you go to work. You do a Miracle Morning before you go to work. So for less than $40, you can change your life. You can change the world. And the great thing about it too is we do it as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
and
one of our
we have
agreements.
discussions, and we talk about, oh, what happened today? Oh, this is what I journaled about today. Da da da. So it really opens up the discussion too.
Yeah, it's made our marriage even happier and better, and magic is happening
Magic
again.
is happening.
So it's great stuff.
Okay, great. Thanks, Robert and Kim. Okay, the next question, this is a little bit long, so listen carefully. I really wanted to open an LLC for my online business, but it seems that the cost is piling up just in the registration process. It seems there's a fee in every action you take, which scared me off from applying. Do you have any suggestions how to handle this? Can I start a business without an LLC?
The question that you need an LLC, look, if you're worried about the cost of an LLC, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur. You're too cheap. Look, you've got to pay the price to be an entrepreneur. So an LLC, would it cost $1,000 to $2,000, whatever it is? If you can't afford that, don't be an entrepreneur, because you've got to have legal protection today. It's a must. It's not an option.
Yeah, an LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and just as Robert said, you have to be protected. You also have to, if you're not, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving advice here, but I do know that if you are not protected and something goes wrong, they could come after you, they could come after all your personal property, they could come after your house, your cars, whatever. So for protection purposes, it's crucial.
If you're saying you can't afford it, you don't know all that, I don't think you got it, my friend. I hate to be blunt to you, but you haven't got it. And you better get over it pretty quick if you want to get it. If you want to really understand LLCs, there's my friend Garrett Sutton. He's a Rich Dad advisor. It's called Run Your Own Corporation, Own Your Own Corporation.
Own Your Own Corporation, Garrett Sutton.
You've got to read that book, because I'm being adamant about this. If it wasn't for Garrett, we would have lost everything. So I don't know what Garrett charges. It's not that much money. Mm-hmm. But without Garrett, every time we do a new property, a new business, something like that, Garrett is the first guy we call. And I don't care what it costs, whatever it costs, it's priceless. But I'm really concerned about your mindset, because the first part of this video was your mindset. And I see so many people who are not successful because they're cheap. You can't be rich if you're cheap.
And I would go back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, because Robert talks about it in Rich Dad Poor Dad, people that say, I can't afford it. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, ask, how can I afford it? Because then that opens up your mind. But you're already saying, I can't afford it, which is going to shut down your mind, and you're not going to come up with any answers.
And if you can't afford that, man, you ain't seen money problems yet.
Amen.
I said, like I said, when I started this whole thing, if you have $1,000 mindset, which it sounds like you have, you can't get over $1,000, you're not going to get to $1 million. That's really the problem. And Kim and I have been there. It was $10 was a mindset.
Well, what about patenting our game? We didn't have the money to patent our game, but we knew it was very, very important to do it, so we did it. And that cost a lot of money.
That's really the lesson. It actually goes back to the first question. What is personal development? Get off of it. Get on with it. Figure out. Use your brain. So the problem with most people is they went to school, and they think in school, trouble with school is only one right answer. As an entrepreneur, there's 1,000 right answers, and you better find the right answer that works for you. But the reason most school teachers aren't rich is because in school, they find their answers in the back of the teacher's manual. And in real life, as an entrepreneur, there's no teacher's manual. So you better be creative, think hard, and be ambitious, open up your mind. That's what personal development is.
And again, I'm going to put one more plug for Garrett Sutton, our Rich Dad advisor, because there's a lot of advice out there about what entities to use and where to put them and where to incorporate. Get his book, Own Your Own Corporation.
$20.
Give him a call. He's a wealth of information, and he's the one that protects us.
If you mention Rich Dad, you get a discount.
Yeah.
But Garrett's advice is priceless.
Yeah.
And Kim and I know right now, because we'd be flat broke without Garrett's advice.
Thank you, Robert and Kim. This next question is a little long, so I'm going to condense it. But basically, we have a gentleman who helped a friend start a business. He taught her how to send emails, coached her through creating the deals, really helped her get her business up and started, and then she refused to share the profits with him. So he ends this question with, "We are friends, and my next business deal, I will have a contract to start up front, but for this particular friend, should I go into business with her?"
Well, there's two things. One is the agreement. They had no agreement.
Well, first of all, there's always two sides to a story, so I've heard that side of the story, and I'm sure the other person has their side of the story. So we're only hearing one side. That's a big problem here. So in anything in life, you need to look at both sides. The other thing too is if you go into business with this person knowing what you know, you're probably just as big an idiot as she is. So, I really can't help you there. Now, for Kim and I, we've had a lot of bad partners, but the rule of thumb is you can never do a good deal with a bad partner. I'll give you another tip. You don't know if you have a good partner until 14 months into the transaction. Our CEO, Mike Sullivan, he was an attorney, did a lot of family problems like divorces and all that. He says that a husband or wife can lie for 14 months. They say, yes, I love you, let's get married and all this. So you get married, but they can only lie for 14 months. Most of these family court guys say the same thing. At 14 months, the true nature of your partner, husband or wife, shows up. And I would say that's true in business too. With the Rich Dad company, it only took a month before the true nature of our partner showed up.
Right. So I would say to this person also, number one, there obviously was no agreement up front. So that's lesson number one, and it sounds like maybe you learned that. Number two, there's a thing in business called exchange. And right now you seem to be out of exchange. You're saying she's done this, or this person's done this much,
He
and
did
I've
all
done
the
this
work and
much,
she
I
gets
did
all
all
the
the
money.
work, and you get all the money. So there's out exchange. So your relationship already is strained. I don't know why you would want to go into business with somebody that you're already resentful of and having issues with.
But it's your problem, not her,
It's
his
not-
or her
it's-
problem.
Yeah, it is your problem. It's your problem, and you need that to go. It goes back to the whole personal development thing. But the last piece I want to say is Robert and I have had good partners, and we've had horrible partners. And one of the keys for us, and what I've learned, is if you and your partner are not aligned on the same values and the same mission, forget it.
Great, thanks, Robert and Kim. This next question is: Can you share stories of when you needed to be creative to make ends meet? Hearing your stories really helps me to learn about your attitude, perspective, and how you think. Thank you so much.
Well, the story is about how as Kim and I will tell you, we've hit the wall so many times. And rule number one is you can't say, I can't afford it. Never say that. Never. Because only poor people say that and losers say that, and we don't want you to be a poor person and a loser. That's why they're too comfortable. Oh, this is too hard, so I think I'll quit. Or, I want people to like me. If you've really understood what entrepreneurs do, I just read this article about Elon Musk, Tesla and SpaceX. He was going broke. He put all of his money from PayPal into Tesla and SpaceX and almost lost it all, but he never stopped. His friends said he was crazy, but he never stopped. So one thing you can do is read stories of great entrepreneurs. Henry Ford went bankrupt 5 times, And so all you guys out there go, I just want to be comfortable. Elon Musk had to call all of his friends. Well, it's the same thing I had to do. Is when I lost nearly $1 million, I had to call all my friends and tell them I lost their money. And I said, do you want your money back? Most said no, but thank God we paid back the money. I don't know how we did, but we vowed to do it. A vow is a promise you make to God, your spirit. So there's, I had one of the lowest days of my life was after my wallet business collapsed. My Harley Davidson got repossessed. Now, Then they repossess my Harley, and they repossess my Porsche. When you get that low, you only got three ways you can go. You can go down, you can go sideways and say, oh, it doesn't make any difference, or you can say, this is a great experience. And now I'm going to develop my spirit, my resolve, and my mindset, and I'm going to make losing my Porsche and my Harley Davidson the best thing that ever happened to me. And then you go up. But if you have one of those loser mentalities, oh, they did this and that, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, because you can turn into a crook and a loser. So anything bad that happens to us, we make it a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're talking about resolve, and this is kind of, especially when we were starting out, this was kind of a philosophy we had, and when we were living in San Diego or La Jolla, we were living in these people's homes, and people would go away for trips, and we'd move into their house, and we finally got to the point where we're like, we need our own place. We still had no income, but we needed our own place. So what do? We go down to the village of La Jolla, which is a beautiful little village on the ocean. It's gorgeous, beautiful restaurants, shops, all of this, and we find this great little 1,200 square foot apartment. Now, we have no money, we have no job,
income.
Right? No income. And so I still to this day do not know how they agreed to rent us this place, but here was the point. The point was we put ourselves in an emergency. This is what we did a lot, and we still do today. We put ourselves in an emergency where we have to perform. We have to make money because we had to pay our rent. So we get this beautiful apartment, nice ocean view, and now we've got to scramble like hell, and that's really what kick-started our business before this. Was we had to make the money. So we got very, very creative in creating products and putting on seminars and doing everything we had to do because we had to pay the rent.
So I'll say it again, you only have three choices. You can go down, you can go sideways, and sideways means, oh, that means nothing, it was just an accident, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Ignore it.
Or you can say, this is going to be the best experience of my life. And that's the way I've lived for most of my life is, I still remember the day I got my last paycheck. It was in 1977. And when I got that last paycheck and I left Xerox Corporation, I never looked back. And I've never taken I've never asked for a job or a paycheck ever since. But every day we were scrambling, and that's called personal development. Kim tells the story of when I left for a week, and how long did you have to last on $2?
Yeah, when we were in La Jolla, and Robert was away doing some teaching, and we really had no money. I had $2 to last me 3 days, and there was a little taco stand called what was the name of that? There was a little taco stand, and they had Juanitas, and they had cheese quesadillas for like 99 cents, and that got me through my 3 days. But it was tough goes, and I think one of the biggest things that happens when those times come, like for me, the hit to my self-esteem is big, and so to get to rebuild up my self-esteem takes a tremendous amount of personal development, and but because of that, that's what really makes us stronger, makes you stronger, makes me stronger, makes anybody stronger. Once you can overcome those odds and get stronger and better, that's what personal development is about.
Thank you, Robert and Kim. This one's we touched it a little earlier, but how do you determine if a person would be a good partner? Do you have a certain strategy or a checklist that you go through? Thank you.
You're going to pick a big, good partner. You can be an entrepreneur. Make sure they don't need a paycheck. Because when money does come in, they get desperate. They start seeing all this money start to pile up, and they want to take it. They want to spend it. So you've really got to check out the needs of this person. Be very, very careful. Also, their mindset, but most importantly, their growth set. Are they into growth? And are they honorable people? When I first met Donald Trump, the first thing he asked, are you good people? That's what he wants to know.
Yes, and I would also say this, if you're saying, how do you find a good partner? Well, you also have to be a good partner.
Yeah.
So it may be, are you stepping up to the quality of partner that you're looking for? Because sometimes, for example, I'll give you a quick story, is we have a neighbor, very, very successful in the world of investing, and he and his partners own sports teams. They've built sports arenas. 10 years ago, he would never have talked to us. So 2 years ago, he came to us, knocked on our door, knock, 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 and said, we've got this deal we're working on, 2 golf courses and a resort. Went through the whole pitch, was very professional, of course, but the point I'm making is we did become his partner in this deal. So we did become his partner in this deal. Years ago, 10 years ago, we would not have been at the quality of partner he was looking for. So it took us being more successful in business. It took us working on ourselves professionally, working on ourselves personally to get to the point where we could be the partner that other people wanted to have.
Amen. So thanks for the questions.